Quick note, a review code for this game was provided to me by Sega. I'm not gonna go easy, but I'm excited to see what they've got. So here's my review of Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania. Without further ado, let's get started. Hey there, I'm Kardino. Before we get into the game itself, I think it's important that I set up what my expectations were going in. As viewers of my channel can tell you, I'm a long-time Monkey Ball fan. I grew up with the first two entries on the GameCube, and I've recently been documenting my way through every game in the series. So when Sega announced that we would not only be getting a Monkey Ball game, but a remake of 1 and 2, I was more than a little excited. That being said, with the originals being so good, I was a little worried that Banana Mania might not fully capture that same magic, not just from a nostalgic standpoint, but also in design. As I saw the promotional material leading up to release, I was certainly hyped, but it was always tainted with this slight feeling of worry. What I wanted was not necessarily a one-to-one HD port, but rather a game that would bring the originals into the modern era while still respecting the philosophies with which they were made. So with that context, is Banana Mania a fruitful effort, or is it one for the compost bin? Right off the bat, if there's anything you'll notice, it's the presentation. While the originals went for a mix of cartoon and realistic environments, Banana Mania leans more toward the new art style, full of vivid colors and an almost plastic-like finish on several objects. And of course, the new character redesigns are back too. I gotta say, the worlds here look really good. Scenes like the washing machine and ice world really showed the strength of this art style, and it's great to see them in HD. How's the music, you ask? On par with the originals, if not better. Of course, there are a few tracks that aren't as good as others. World 3 definitely got a downgrade, and World 8 sounds like it should play at a circus. But then there are amazing songs like Underwater, Boiling Pot, and Washing Machine. First impressions are everything, and this game's nailed it so far. Okay, enough about presentation, let's talk gameplay. And here's the ultimate question. Does this game feel as good as the originals? Unfortunately, no. While you can even hook up your GameCube controller to the Switch and Steam versions, it just doesn't feel the same. Everything feels much more slippery, almost like you're playing with slight ice physics. When you're doing the earlier courses, it isn't the biggest issue, but once you start getting into the expert and master stages, you'll really feel that something's wrong. And this isn't helped by the camera either. When acting on its own, the camera will do its best to stay out of your way, but usually it's either too slow or way too finicky. I mean, look at this shot right here. You can't tell me I wasn't being absolutely screwed by the camera. Now, if that was all there was, I'd have a much lower opinion of this game. But luckily the developers added a small feature that makes a huge difference, and that's making the camera controllable. At first, I disabled this feature altogether, seeing how it changed the controls. But over time, I not only grew to appreciate it, but started to find it essential to enjoying the game. In fact, some original stages are now better with the manual viewing angles than before, especially SMB1 Master. That being said, the controls are definitely a mixed bag. I feel new players won't mind the change as much as veterans, but it's still disappointing. Next on our topic list is the main game's content. As you'd expect, both practice and challenge mode make a return, along with some special modes that I'll get to in a bit. But while I'm talking about the main game, there's an important change that we have to address: the removal of the life system. Where in the original you try to reach the end without dying a set amount of times, here everything is more focused on how quickly you can complete the set. The game will even keep track of your best time. But the downside to this is that there are no lives at all, which completely goes against how these modes were originally designed. For example, take bananas. In the original, the system was simple: get 100, get a life. Well, now that lives are gone, they're basically worthless. So now that there's no reason to collect bananas, why have bonus stages? No reason at all, other than the fact that they were in the original, so we'd better throw them in too. And the extra stages, they were a reward for mastering the challenge. But now that we're removing lives, might as well just throw them in with everything else, at which point they're not even extras. See what I mean with how the original game was built around lives? It was called challenge mode for a reason. Without the challenge, what's the point? Now, with that being said, I'd be lying if I said blasting through these courses was unenjoyable. In fact, casually running through these stages was really fun, kinda like playing with 99 lives in 2. But the difference was that in that game, you had to unlock every one of those lives, so the casual run was like a reward. Here, it just feels like a questionable design choice. Not only that, but there were already casual modes in the original, those being the practice and story modes. But oh wait, let's talk about story mode. Remember all those fun cutscenes? Now it's just PNGs on top of a flat background. Talk about a downgrade. Plus, the levels are in a set order, so there's no jumping around to do your own order now. So not only did they nerf challenge mode, but they took away almost everything that made story mode unique too. Disappointing stuff. Now, so far, things are probably sounding pretty negative, so I think it's time we take a look at something I feel this game nailed: the special modes. By completing courses and missions, and by collecting a ton of bananas, you unlock what's basically this game's version of play points. These points can then be redeemed for characters, costumes, photo filters, a jump cheat, and most notably, special modes. And I really love these. Each only has a handful of courses, but they add unique challenges and concepts that make you think about these stages in a completely different way. For example, Dark Banana mode forces you to rethink how you'll beat a stage, and Golden Banana mode takes up the bigger stages and gives you a reason to explore them, even the maze ones. Repurposing levels that were likely the worst of the originals was a great idea, and I can't praise the team enough. If anything, I just wish each mode had more levels. I completed all of them in an afternoon and loved every second, and I just wanted to keep going. But that's hardly a complaint. You know what else I like? They redesigned some stages to fit a smoother difficulty curve. While the original challenge mode may have been gimped, I'll be the first to say that the difficulty progression is much better now. Stages like Exam C were huge difficulty spikes, and I'm glad they were somewhat ironed out. And if you really want that old difficulty back, all changed stages have their own special mode, so you can play the originals to your heart's content. Now this is the stuff I look for in a remake. But it's time for the criticisms to resume. While I had fun with my time alone, things started to fall apart when friends got involved. For one, the main game is single player only. There is no competitive or co-op mode to be seen, which is especially sad since the new focus here seems to be on time trials. The party games were fun, but a couple of them were changed for the worse. Monkey Target especially seems to have gone the short end of the stick in this regard, with wind physics that are noticeably worse than before and the takeoff sequence seemingly pre-scripted. But I will say that this is only for a couple games, and most of them are still pretty fun. Monkey Boat, Soccer, and Tennis were even substantially improved, so good on the team for that one. Last thing to talk about here is online. For a modern take on the classic games, I was hoping I could play party games with friends without inviting them over for local. Unfortunately, the game allows no such feature without external tools. I feel this is a real missed opportunity, especially for a game that so heavily advertised itself as multiplayer focused. There is a pseudo online mode though, and that's the ranked challenge mode. Basically, you can race by yourself or with an online ghost to see how quickly you can complete a level set. If you do well enough, you may even appear on the world leaderboard. I had a real blast with this mode, and it's definitely where most of the replay value will be for me. It's just I wish there were more ways to directly play online. At the end of the day, is Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania a good remake? Technically, I'm not entirely sure it is. This game is clearly meant to be more casual friendly, but several of its adjustments feel contradictory to how the game was designed, which if you ask me, is not a good quality for a remake to have. The gimped modes and the slippery physics are more than enough to get on my nerves, and the lackluster support for online is more than a little disappointing. That being said though, despite how many problems I have with the game, it's still a fun Super Monkey Ball experience, and it's a great way to celebrate the series' 20th anniversary. It may not be the ideal remake for classic fans, but does that mean I can't enjoy it as a casual experience? Certainly not. I can still recommend it as a supplement to the originals or as a starting point to newcomers. So to Sega, this game is a step in the right direction. Now let's see you take that next step and make something even better next time. But until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.